Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. My name is Schleyer, and today we are looking at the Warhammer, something a lot of people are kind of overlooking since we do have the Great Axe, and the Great Axe does feel a little bit quicker. I won't lie, the Warhammer does feel a little slow. I think it is a fairly good weapon when you look inside the weapon tree. I think the Warhammer actually has some good abilities to it, and we're going to go run through that today. As you can see, the Juggernaut ability tree is more for DPS, and then Crowd Crusher, of course, is for getting crowd control. I did most of the stuff in crowd control, but as you can see, I did bring in one ability into Juggernaut. We'll go over that one first. It does play a good role. The ability itself is Armor Breaker. It is a powerful swing that penetrates 35% of the target's armor and deals 140% weapon damage. So very, very useful to be breaking into the target's armor. The next perk in this tree is Indomitable. Armor Breaker gains grit, which is great because that means it's unstoppable. And last one, which isn't technically the last one, but is the last one I decided to put a point in, is Lasting Trauma. It is a ability that applies rend and reduces damage absorption on the target by 5% for the next 10 seconds, which is super, super good. And you'll see why that's really important over in the Crowd Crusher side. Next one is Shockwave. This perk's really good. You slam the hammer into the ground, causing a 3-meter radius AoE earthquake that deals 80% weapon damage. It applies stun to all impacted targets for 2 seconds, so another debuff. So there's 2 debuffs right there already. That one's really good because it also has the taunt gem compatibility. So again, using this as a tank will be really good to put the taunt gem on. All right, next is Frailty. The trauma of the attack causes Weaken, which is a 3rd debuff, which decreases the damage dealt from the target's attack by 10% for 5 seconds, so that's pretty cool. And the lastly is Meteoric Crater. I think that's how you would pronounce it, Meteoric. It expands the effective range of Shockwave to a 4-meter radius instead of 3. Okay, that's pretty cool. And the last perk would be Clear Out, which is a wide swing that knocks enemies back 4 meters to create distance, dealing 115% weapon damage. So if you really needed that space, you could have that ability to just to clear everything out, which is kind of nice. If you didn't want that and you wanted everything to be more of a pull and kind of keep here, Path of Destiny could potentially be good. You can do a ground strike that reps a linear wave of energy in front of the player, dealing 110% weapon damage to all the targets in the path. Okay, it does stagger targets, which is kind of nice. And then the ability cooldowns are reduced by 5% for each enemy hit. In this situation, you're not pushing enemies away. You're actually keeping them there. So as long as you're like getting backwards and then getting in front of them, I think it should work just fine. But I think I like Clear Out a little bit better. It's more of like a hybrid tank, just in case you do get a little bit stuck. You can get your way out of a sticky situation pretty easily. The first perk into this would be Power Cleaner. Hitting a target with Clear Out grants Fortify, providing a 10% defensive bonus for 4 seconds to all friendlies within 6 meters. So that's pretty neat. The third one is Clean and Refreshed. Clear Out's cooldown is reduced by 5% per enemy hit with the ability. And then lastly is Swing Away. Using Clear Out on a target grants haste, increasing movement speed by 30% for 3 seconds. So in this instance, you could hit them, you'll get your haste, you can run up, and then maybe just like suck them back in again. I don't know. It really depends on how you wanted to play that. But let's go into the passives now. There's 3 passives I have in Juggernaut over here, and they're pretty good. Hardened Steel adds grit to Warhammer's heavy attacks, so it makes them uninterruptible, which is pretty darn good. And then these all combo into each other, which Contemption increases damage done with heavy attacks by 15% to targets under 30% health. And then lastly is Quick Recovery, which reduces the Warhammer cooldowns by 7% when you use heavy attacks. So all very, very nice. Looking over on Crowd Crusher's passives, first we have Outnumbered. It increases physical and elemental armor by 5% for every enemy within 5 meters. So that's pretty decent. It's a nice cheap stat. Otherwise, I can do this all day, which reduces stamina consumption by 30% when blocking melee attacks. So that could be a potential good one just to do either or in that case. Acceleration is the next one, which reduces Warhammer cooldowns when using light attacks against targets with active debuffs. So that's the kicker right there. There is the mention of debuffs that I was looking for. Like I said, you get a debuff here, which right there is Rend. And then you go into here, which gives weaken. So I think there's just 2 debuffs that you're going to get. So on either or of those, you can be using only one and then hitting them with just some light attacks. It would still count. So that's pretty good. Next is concussive impact, plus 15 damage against targets affected by Warhammer debuffs. Again, debuffs, there we go. So you're going to get pretty much all the time 15% damage, which is kind of nice because these last for a decent amount of time. Prevailing Spirit, regain 35% of damage dealt as health when using a Crowd Crusher ability. So again, we have 2 out of the 3 Crowd Crusher abilities, which is good, and you'll be able to regain 35% of the damage dealt as health. So a nice little sustain right there. The last one here is Resurgence. After 2 light attacks with the Warhammer, debuff durations on you are reduced by 25%. So that's pretty cool. So it's not against the player there, it's against you. So that's really nice. And then of course we have Aftershock at the end, which requires the 10 points in the Crowd Crusher row. Whenever a target is affected by a crowd control effect, they are slowed by 20% for 4 seconds. So it's pretty cool. Well, there's Warhammer for you. It's a pretty simple one as well, but you can be doing more DPS if you wanted, or you can definitely focus fully in on some of the Crowd Crusher stuff. Most likely you wouldn't be missing too much. You'll be just missing a couple of the haste things, and you'll be able to reduce damage while sprinting, things like that. So nothing ultra big in the Crowd Crusher area that you missed. You can definitely mess around with Juggernaut as well, but overall, pretty easy tree and a pretty powerful weapon, honestly. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Make sure to give it a like if you liked it, and subscribe for more content coming up, and we'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace. There's a dude, we'll make sure to hit him from behind. Okay, so he is resistant to this. So it's definitely going to take more hits.